Welcome, everyone. We have Sunny here with us. We're going to dive into food and wine and vegan lifestyles and truly why this is such an important conversation for us as future women. We are trying to really align the futures for ourselves and for our future generations along really kind, conscious, mindful timelines. Welcome, Sunny.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. I always love and enjoy your bon vivant work around plant-based diet. And now I see that you're creating something really juicy with vegan wines. So I'd love to dive into these two topics with you around the vegan lifestyle and also how that informs our choice of wines and why you've gotten into this area.
Sure. So my journey into veganism started about 5 years ago. I was a meat eater and ate everything between, A to Z that you could imagine. And then I was became aware of how animals were raised for food, and they're not grazing sort of elegantly in the fields and having such a wonderful life that we think they are. And not only that, the cruelty aspect of it, but also how inefficient this way of eating is and how much resources it takes from the earth. And I'm a lover of the environment. I'm a lover of, hiking and nature. I grew up in Norway. And so I guess it just all I became really conscious of it 5 years ago, and I decided to go vegan overnight. Now, I know that's not typical. And I also had a lot on the line because I had an omnivore food blog. I was a chef, I cooked with all kinds of meat products, and but the feeling was so strong in me that I had to just kind of go with it, and I knew that was the right thing for me, and I haven't looked back since. I mean, in fact, this is the best thing I've done for myself, and I felt so strongly about it that I decided to make it into a career for myself. So, of course, you and I met in a coaching program, and I noticed that a lot of women, were they were feeling down, they were overweight, they were unhappy, and when it all comes down to it, I mean, I'm a coach, so I coach women on not just nutrition but really lifestyle, right? I mean, it's all connected. I'm a holistic health coach. That's when I was certified at IIN, and I started seeing the connection. And, I said diet really is the number one reason why you're not feeling happy or well, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So it became more than just, teaching people about what to eat. Although, of course, I lead with that as a chef. I find that people don't respond to serious, hardcore facts, and now you should go vegan. But more about, look how delicious this food is. You had no idea, had you? You thought this, plant-based food was bland and you had to eat kale every day and restrict yourself. And I even thought that in the beginning. But of course, the world expanded tremendously, and I see there's so many incredible choices that we have, and I felt so passionate about it that I needed to spread that word. So hence my Facebook group, Plant Empowered Bon Vivants, came about, and that's a group for people who are just dipping their toes in, almost. I call them plant curious, right? I'm more interested in reaching the non-vegans, because the vegans are already converted, right? They don't need me. They already know how wonderful this lifestyle is. But it's for those who are kind of a little bit intimidated, unsure, confused. And I'm here to tell you that food is food. We don't need to label it vegan necessarily, other than, of course, when I go out to a restaurant, I want to know my food is vegan. But I want people to know that you're already eating vegan food. You're already loving it. Like I always say, don't you like hummus and pita chips? I mean, we all eat it, but we don't say, let me have some vegan hummus. We don't do that because it's food. So my philosophy is really demystifying the food, making it fun, making it attractive. And the best part about this lifestyle is that I feel so good. I don't feel bad. I don't feel guilty. I feel like I'm improving the world. I'm certainly not perfect. And being vegan isn't about being perfect. It's about doing the best we can. And that's why I'm welcoming anybody that's interested in this lifestyle. And we take it step by step.
Fantastic. What are some of the reasons that women choose to shift? What are you seeing?
Well, I will say the number one choice or decision is health. So people come to me because they have some type of chronic disease. And I'm shocked. I actually connected with a lot of my old colleagues in a different industry, and they came to me as clients, and to find out all the health issues that women are struggling with today quietly. Like they look really beautiful and put together, and then they start to tell me all these problems that they're having, and it's all because of lifestyle choices. There's Crohn's disease, there's, all kinds of course, there's excess weight, which is another way we self-soothe or don't take care of ourselves. There's asthma, there's all these, diseases that stem from the gut, and of course, you may not feel ill when you were in your 20s and 30s, but now they're my age in mid 40s, and now it's starting to manifest physically into disease. And so and I don't love that, but they come to me basically when they have no other choice. They've tried all the medications, they have, tried everything, yo-yo dieting, and they finally see that their choices of food is, and it's not just about the animal foods, but it's a lot of processed foods as well, because we want it quick today, right? We have no time because our job is so much more important. Our kids are more important. I'm last, so I'll just, eat a bag of ding dongs or whatever, so, this is putting it, of course, on the, extreme, but I think that they finally realized that I have to do something about this, or I'm going to be sick forever. So number one is health. Number two is, I would say, and this is environment. They are realizing that they have an impact in the world. They would like to do something. And this is often women who are accomplished. They've already accomplished a lot in their lives. They've made a lot of money. They have success. But now they're looking for a bigger why, right? Like, what else can I do to impact the world? I've made the money, I have the big house and the big cars, but now I want to do something good. And they're realizing that their choices are not contributing to a sustainable planet. And so they want to kind of learn more about that. And number three, poor animals, but it's animals, it's people who are empaths, who are feeling that, and that's me, I'm vegan for the animals first. But, they just kind of had this click, like, oh, wow, a cow and a pig is no different than my cat and my dog. They have feelings, they're beautiful animals. They deserve to live. And I can no longer eat, meat. And that's typically because they have watched a documentary, perhaps, and I always recommend watching documentaries. And I think that that's much more powerful, because then you are in your own driver's seat. You can decide what to do with that information. You don't have me standing over you, lecturing you and telling you, not that I do that, but that telling you what you should do and what you can't do, because people don't respond to that. So letting them sort of dive in on their own and really do their own research often has become the most successful path for not just me, for my clients as well. And I also find that when they're vegan for the animals, those are the ones that actually last. The ones that go in with a health aspect first, because we tend to put ourselves last, and we tend to sort of shove ourselves to the side, we slip, so this is an interesting observation I've had. But the best ones are the ones that are vegan for all three, right? Your health, the health of your loved ones, the environment, and the animals. And that's a really powerful combination.
Oh, this is great. Absolutely. Is there resources you provide to help a woman make the right decisions? How do you approach someone coming to you? I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. So, first, I really dive in with my clients. Everyone is different. Everyone has a different story. Everyone has a different drive, reason for doing things, issues, problems, challenges, successes. So I really get to know them first, and then using my intuition as to what would be most helpful for them at the time. I think that a huge change going from 0 to 100 overnight is never, helpful, or it won't last. So for me, it's like teaching these women, who are most of them very successful and accomplished, because they want it now. We have that impatient thing. I just want to lose 20 pounds tomorrow, or I just want to get rid of this disease, or I just want to learn how to cook better. But it doesn't happen overnight. So I take them step by step, and then we celebrate every little thing. So, it could be anything from, obviously showing them the documentaries, or that they can watch, blogs, if you like to read. Some people love podcasts, so obviously your listeners are here because many people pick up information easier by ear. So it's all about who they are and what could be most effective for them and powerful for them. So it's all very different depending on who I'm talking to.
So where do they go to to find this strategy? Folks like you, or is there books or?
Yeah, so I have a list of resources that I give my clients when they sign up to be coached by me, right? So I have a couple of different programs. I don't coach a lot of people anymore one-on-one. I only take on those that are very serious, because, initially I took on everyone because I wanted to help the world. But if you don't want to help yourself, there's nothing I can do, right? So these are highly committed individuals. So I send them a list basically of everything: blogs, books, podcasts, websites, films, all kinds of links to articles. If they're like, fact people, some people just are motivated by facts and numbers, that's another resource. So again, it becomes like, how is this going to make a connection for you? So that's always in my package. And I find that to be something that they can chew on in their own time, and then come back to me, having access to me via email whenever they want, so they can ask questions if something is not clear. How do I go about this, versus someone else?
Awesome. Okay, let's look at what it looks like vegan. Okay, so the first question that I get as a physician or coach is essentially, how do I get my proteins? And so what's your answer to that?
So this is like, I think it's the most outdated question, and it's the most common question, because we have been fed by the meat and dairy industry for decades that protein is important. Of course, they make a lot of money from meat and fish and eggs and all of this. And so technically, if you go into hardcore data, and I can definitely link this where I'm getting these numbers from, just so I don't pull them out of my head, but a person only needs about 10% of protein per day of their diet. Now, if you're someone like I used to be, a bodybuilder, I could say maybe 20%, because then you have different goals. Mm-hmm. Is it necessary to live and have a healthy life? Of course not. It just depends. Like a long distance runner may need a lot more carbs, right, to have the energy. But the typical breakdown I give my clients could be sort of 70 to 80% carbs, 10 to 15% fat, 10 to 15% protein, give or take, 5 or 10%. And protein can be found in everything. And protein is not a food group, by the way. It's a macronutrient. And so you have carbs. You have protein in every food, except for maybe like 100% fat, like oils and things like that. But you have, there's quinoa, there's whole grains, there's vegetables, fruits, of course, the legumes, the grains, everything has protein in it. So there's another thing that people need to, like, you need certain proteins, or soy is bad for you. There's so many different, misinformed facts, in quotations, about a vegan diet, because you have to also think about, where did you get this information? I always encourage my clients to see so where did you read this? Check out the article. Who is it sponsored by? Who is it written by? What are they getting out of this? Like, be your own judge, and as I have to be. I'm not going to go here and say the only way to be healthy is to eat vegan, because it's just not true. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. But I say you can be absolutely healthy, 100%, and not harm animals and not harm the planet, or do very little or less damage to the planet. So why wouldn't you choose that? So this is all like, we can't jump on what people are saying and these, fad diets and, the latest and the greatest, without actually examining it ourselves. And that is all about taking charge of your own life, because you can go to the doctor and they can tell you certain things. No offense to doctors, we need them. And, but I'm saying, in terms of nutrition, your body best, right? So sometimes, it's very powerful to really re-examine where you're getting your facts from, no matter where they come from.
Yeah, the overall consensus about the future is that we as individuals will have to really step a lot more into what the philosophers call hyper agency. You could call it sovereignty, you could call it autonomy, really becoming your own judgment, your own judge and your own researcher, and do your own homework. So that's a part of that journey, absolutely. I'd love to touch on algae. Recently, I read so much about algae, and I lived in Japan for many years and lived on algae pretty much, hijiki and seaweeds and so on. Tell me what kind of algae are you using in your
So I don't, I'm not a huge user of that, but I do recommend them to, my clients also, because I actually went to Norway last month, and Norway, as you may or may not know, but we have a huge coastline. Fishing is huge there.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've seen now is because it isn't sustainable to fish the way we're doing. I mean, the oceans are going to be depleted in a couple of decades if we don't do something, right? So there are more and more seaweed farmers. And so they're noticing that, not only is seaweed much more nutrient dense than fish, they don't have the, cholesterol and the saturated fat of fish. And of course, all the, pollutants that are in fish because how polluted the sea is. So for me, algae or seaweed rather, of course I like to use kombu. I like to use some different things for flavoring and getting that umami flavor that I always look for, that you may be used to if you're eating meat or fish. You want that sort of savory note. And something I always recommend to my clients who come to me and haven't had a plant-based diet or haven't eaten a lot of whole food plants before, they get an upset stomach because they're eating beans. Beans are very high in fiber, so the body works really hard to digest it. But if you add a piece of kombu to the water when you're cooking the beans, that helps release the gases. So there's not just nutritional value to it, algae and seaweed, all these wonderful things you can find in the ocean that don't harm lives. It's also very beneficial in sort of practical uses as well. So I love, of course, Japanese food, and I'm jealous of you having been there so much and been living there, right? So that's my goal, to go back there and really kind of learn more about that specific side of things, because I know that's huge there.
Yeah, it's the whole macrobiotic culture, especially in Kyoto, is pretty astounding what they create with food, and it's all vegan. Yeah.
Amazing.
Let's really touch on this incredible movement you're creating around vegan wines. I can't wait to hear about that. What are we doing with wine?
Yeah, so, I have a background in wine. I've been in the wine business for 13 years. Before I was vegan too. I have all the certifications in the world. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to it. And, I was thinking I should do something. I should use this experience. And randomly through a female vegan entrepreneur group I'm a member of in New York City, it's called Vegan Lady Boss. It's an amazing group of high-powered women who are really smart and, into activism, making the world a better place. I met a woman by the name of Frances Gonzalez through a really dear friend of mine, and she had founded a company called Vegan Wines. And I was like, wow, that's really cool, because most vegans don't realize that not all wines are vegan. So that was the same experience she had. She's not a wine connoisseur or expert, but she loves wine. She loves to travel. So on her visit to France, she overheard egg white when the winemaker was explaining how the wine was made. And she was like, wait a minute. She had been vegan for 20 years. She's like, I have to give up wine. So she's like, her trip turned into a research trip, right? And so that she started the company, I guess, about 8 months before I met her, but we just clicked. And so now Vegan Wines is the #1, actually the first vegan wine club in the United States. So that's really cool. And not only do we ensure that the fining process, meaning the clarification of a wine to make it from dull to clear, the way we like to see our wine, a lot of animal ingredients are used, such as egg whites, fish bladders, whey, gelatin, a lot of these things are also allergens. So people with allergies might want to sort of look out for that. And that's what winemakers have started doing, actually. They've started eliminating the animal products, which is great. And because you don't need them. You can find with clay, ceramic filters. There's all these different bentonites, all these different very effective non-animal derived agents you can use for filtering or fining. And then secondly, we go a step further, and we don't allow any animal products in the soil or in the fertilizer, I should say, because many people don't think about it. When you fertilize the soil, whether you're gardening or you're taking care of vines for grapes, there are a lot of animal things like eggshells. There is fish meal, fish bones, things like that. So we do take that extra step. We travel to every vineyard, we speak to the winemaker, and we interview him and make sure what is your process, so that we can ensure that our club members can just rest assured when they get a wine from us that it is 100% vegan and it's a clean winery, meaning it's always a small family vineyard. They care about the soil because they pass it on to the next generation and the next generation. So they're really farming ecologically, organically, in tune with nature. And that's really important with it. More than anything, we like to say it's a wine club that happens to also be vegan, because for us, that's number one. If you're so worried about what you're eating and to be eating clean, you should always also worry about what's in the glass. So that's how the sort of motivation came about to start this club. And now I'm very excited to announce also that we've partnered with Miyoko's Kitchen Cheese, which is probably the best artisan vegan cheese in the United States. I think so, and I've tasted a lot of, and I'm not one of those vegans who say, oh, it tastes just like the original. If it doesn't taste like, the cheese you're used to, then I'm not going to say that. But honestly, her cheeses are incredibly tasty. And she also is a Japanese, so she uses Japanese fermenting techniques that to make these cheeses, and they're just so complex in flavor and wonderful. I mean, everything from a volcanic ash to grape leaves wrapped cheeses. I mean, you don't have to, honestly, like you can't tell me I can't become a vegan because I love cheese anymore, because her cheeses are off the chain, and we're just so happy to be partnering with her. So our club members have the ability to order 3 cheeses with the 3 wines, and then I'm going to do the pairing notes for them. So
wow. You pair them up. You kind of, fantastic. And is it only United States, or can you guys send out to Canada? Or
right now, unfortunately, it's only the United States. It's shipped to 46 states. Off the top of my head, I don't know the 4 states we don't ship to, but I'm imagining there's some control states and such that are stricter direct-to-consumer, laws. But we have gotten a lot of requests from Canada. So, it might be in our long-term plan, but right now we're working on really building up our member base here in the United States, and hopefully we can spread it worldwide.
Yeah, even partnering up with folks who are doing similar things there, so you can communicate with each other. That's kind of beautiful, because immediately you get, with the online space and having it's an online club, right?
It is, but we also now are branching out to sell into restaurants and shops. So our wines are not readily available anywhere in the United States in regular wine shops. Most of these winemakers are very small productions, like thousands of bottles, sometimes maybe even hundreds of bottles. So they sell everything at the vineyard. They don't even need to go to retail, because they sell everything right there. But, we develop a close relationship with them, so they allow us to order a small amount for our members. And what we do is then we promote the vineyard so that the members can go back to the vineyard and say, hey, I had a wine from Vegan Wines that I really love. And then we encourage them to visit the vineyard and then buy more wines from them. So it's a mutual relationship there. But also now in California, we are able to sell into restaurants and stores, because we are also getting wines from France, which is really exciting. We have 2 different wines from Bordeaux, beautiful wines, and they're a little higher end. One is a little sort of mid-range, and we are working on our New York license too. So that's going to be sort of adding on to our business. And we have an online shop, so you don't need to commit to, say, a month. I mean, you don't have to pay for the membership, but it's just a monthly where you get 3, bi-monthly where you get 3 bottles. But you can just go onto our online shop at veganwines.com, and you can just pick 1 or 2 or 10 or whatever, and we send it to you. So that's really exciting.
And is it what you mean? You hold the stock in
Yeah.
your what do you have, like
Not
a
in our apartment.
no, right? Like where
No,
does
we
it
have
come from? How does it work?
Oh, it's I'm telling you, not to discourage anyone who wants to get into
It's
this.
a huge operation, I
It
bet.
is a massive operation. I mean, you have to get an importing license, a wholesaler license, a
Oh
distributor,
wow.
retail. It's a lot of money, and lawyers, and
Wow.
storage fees and clearance, and there's so many rules and regulations. Honestly, you have to really love this, to do it, because it is a big, big feat. But the sort of excitement from providing these products for our members, it really makes it worth it, just to know that supporting these winemakers who are making the world a better place, honestly. And wine is we want to connect with people. We use wine as, I'm telling you, Vegan Wines is not just about wines. It's a lifestyle company. We are involved with a lot of sanctuaries on the East Coast. We're involved with Catskills Animal Sanctuary on the East Coast. West Coast is Goatlandia. We'll do events there. We support them. And wine is just kind of the meeting place. We meet for a glass of wine and we talk about what's important in the world. What's your passion? What would you like to see change? And wine is just kind of the mediator, and what makes us, gather together.
And I believe that for the Gen X generation and up, it's the wine will really draw that kind of discussion together. Whereas the millennials are already talking veganism. They're already talking global impact and social impact and so on. So that's kind of a beautiful way of creating dialogue through the wine that we all love.
Yes, absolutely. And it's fun, and you can learn a lot about other cultures too from, over a glass of wine, and how they eat, how they do things, how they do family, what's important to them, what's their history, their traditions. Wine is so much more than just, a beverage in a glass. It's really everything: art, history, culture, all the things that I love. So it's really fun.
Well, Sunny, I have one last question for you, and this is, I think, a really key one. As the woman that you've grown into being, and through the bodybuilding, through your omnivorous life, to your vegan life, to your expertise in the wines, and now your expertise in really running a big operation online through products. What do you see in the future for all of this? What do you see in the future for veganism? Where are we going? What do we need to be designing for as women in the world, from all the body of knowledge and wisdom that you've accumulated?
So I think that, just see, plant-based and veganism isn't a fad, right? It's going to change. Already there's been a 600% increase in people who are identifying as vegans in the US over the last 3 years. In the UK, I think it's something like 350% compared to a decade ago. In Portugal, 400%. Can you imagine Portugal? I never even thought. So when you look at all these things, there is a collective movement in that direction. And I do believe that it is because people are becoming more awake. They're realizing it's not enough to just say, oh, let me just bring my shopping bag instead of not a plastic, and that's great, because plastic is a huge, problem. And so if you want to start there, great. But I think it's really showing that, food is where the difficult part is for most people. And that is because it's rooted in our, history. It's rooted in our traditions. When we grew up, with family, this is what we eat, and it brings back good memories. But I think we have to realize that you can eat differently and still enjoy it, and create new memories. So really raising awareness is what I'm trying to do, to see like what is actually farming animals doing to the planet. Get those hard facts and just take it in. Don't feel guilty because you eat. That's not my point. We all are on different journeys, and I didn't know before I knew, right? Mm-hmm. So, but it's really about, I encourage you, I see this interest in getting educated, learning more. It's like, we are in the coaching world, and it's great that you want to make 10, 15, 20, $300,000 a month. And then what? What is the purpose behind that? You know, I see a lot more women needing that deeper reason to be. You know, if you have traveled the world like we have, and we've seen cultures and this and that, then what? You know, so I believe that this is really going towards veganism and whatever, you know, however you feel about that world, but I like to call it a more conscious, compassionate way of living. And whatever that looks like for you now, just take the first step. You know, you don't need to make, you know, 180 degrees change overnight, because like I said earlier, that isn't really sustainable. But take a look and see, how can I improve? What's one thing I can improve in my lifestyle today that, you know, can make a difference for myself and my family, and also for my future, you know, of course, our children, the future generation.
Absolutely. I believe what you're creating in the world with the veganism, with your programs, with your vegan wines is really aligned towards where humanity needs to go. And I commend you for that. And I thank you for that. And you're an inspiration. And absolutely, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, which is sunnygandara.com. If you want to sign up for my newsletter, I do send out just once a week, usually a plant-based recipe with some inspiration around something that, you know, kind of I found worth sharing. Never spam. I don't sell a ton of programs, so don't be worried about that. Of course, our website at Vegan Wines is veganwines.com. So you can sign up for any of our 3 wine clubs there. We have a $25 and under for everyday wines. We have a red wine lovers club only. And we have a standard club that has a variety of white, red, and sparkling wines. And then, of course, on my Facebook group, it's called Plant Empowered Bon Vivants, if you want to join there. Or my Facebook group, Facebook page, sorry, Sunny Gandara. And I also have an Instagram called Sunny and Plantiful. I'm happy to provide but I'm sure when you go onto my website, you can find all my social media links there. So I would love to have you in my community. If you have any questions, you can also email me at sunny@sunnygandara.com, whether it's about vegan wine, food, lifestyle, whatever it is you're interested in.
Very exciting. This is where it's going. This is the way. So thank you for paving the way for many people to feel fun with this and comfort and have a glass of wine while we're doing it. Absolutely. That's a beautiful angle. And I'd love to meet you for a beautiful glass of wine in New York.
Absolutely. So sign me up. We're definitely, we'll show you one of the best vegan places in New York and give you some of our wines. So I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for holding the space for me to let me share today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you.
All right.